I think it's good to have a body. So I'm a philosopher, and one of the things I work on is what philosophers call welfare. So your welfare is the degree to which your life goes well or badly for you. One thing in particular that I'm interested in is the welfare of artificially intelligent beings, or AIs. Now, you might think it sounds a little strange to talk about AIs as having lives that can go well or badly for them, and I'll concede that probably most or all AIs that exist today don't. But many philosophers believe that in the near to medium term future, we may see the development of AIs that do have lives that can go well or badly for them. And when we do, we'll have to ask the question, what would be good for an AI? That brings me back to the issue of the body. So one way in which AIs can be interestingly different than all of the welfare subjects that we know of, humans and non-human animals, is that AIs can be disembodied. They can exist entirely on like a little silicon chip without access to a robotic body of any kind. I'm going to argue that this would be bad for them, that it's bad to be disembodied, and conversely good to have a body. I think this is interesting for a couple of reasons. First, if we have AI welfare subjects to deal with, it implies that we will have a moral reason to give them bodies. It may sound like a surprising claim, but we do have moral reasons to do what's good for other people, other beings. Second, I think it teaches us that our own lives are going well in a way that we may not have noticed, simply because we do have bodies and because of the goods that that provides us with. So, what do I think is good about having a body? So basically what a body does, insofar as I'm interested in it, is it allows us to access the physical world by sensation. So we take in information by sensation, and then we can act directly on the physical world in kind of that intentional manner. So we can sense directly and act directly. I'm going to give you a kind of quick argument that these capacities are good to have. And I'm going to do that by appealing to three thought experiments. I'll give you three examples of lives in which these capacities are severely limited. And I'll invite you to have the intuition that in each case, something important about that life is missing. The life is kind of interestingly deficient. Okay, so first case. This is a little bit of a warm-up. Imagine a mob boss who controls a vast criminal empire, but does so entirely from the confines of a small prison cell. We can imagine the mob boss has a very good life in some respects. He can think great thoughts, compose poems, enjoy very meaningful relationships with henchmen or loved ones, and have a lot of indirect control over the world via his informants and accomplices and so forth. It still intuitively seems, I think, that something about his life is missing. The fact that there's so little he can sense and so little he himself can do is, in a way, bad for him. Second case is a little more severe. So this case is of locked-in syndrome. So locked-in patients are unable to move any of their muscles, except in some cases for an eye or an eyelid. If you've ever seen the book or read the book or seen the movie, The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, it's by and about someone with locked-in syndrome. A locked-in patient can again have a good life in a number of respects. They can enjoy good relationships, good thoughts, at least in theory, kind of have a lot of control over the world indirectly. But I still think it is intuitively, in a way, bad to be locked in. There's something pitiable about it, something that you shouldn't want just kind of intrinsically for yourself or your loved ones. Third case is the most extreme. So this is a kind of famous for philosophy thought experiment. Dates the 1970s, so Robert Nozick, the philosopher, thought this up. And it's called the experience machine. So when you're in an experience machine, your body floats in a vat of nutrients, while electrodes stimulate your brain to give you hallucinations. Even if the hallucinations are very pleasant, many people have the intuition that there's something missing with life in an experience machine. You can't access the world around you, the real physical world. And so the thought experiment, I think, points us to what's good about having a body. It gives us a direct interface with the physical world by sensation and by direct action. I think other welfare goods are like this too. They're ways of being in touch with the world in general. So Knowledge, plausibly a welfare good, is a way of being in touch with reality. Friendship, also quite plausibly a welfare good, is a way of being in touch with other people. Having a body is a way of being in touch quite directly with an important part of reality, the physical part. And there are different ways of doing that. There are different kinds of bodies you can have. My argument doesn't imply that it's bad to have a physical disability, or worse, to have the body of a dolphin or a bat instead of a human being. But it does imply that it's good to have some kind of robust functioning body. And so when we have AI welfare subjects to deal with, we will have a moral reason to give them bodies, rather than forcing them to spend their lives kind of trapped in the cloud. Thanks.